happening, everyone? Yeah, apologies. I am started way later today. A lot of stuff going on this morning. Oh, just took a breath here. Just took a breath, got back here, and yeah, a lot of cool summertime, real life stuff going on. So it's good. It's good. Everything's good. Just when I'm scheduling streams, I'm like, oh, it should work out at this time, and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, appreciate your patience, and sorry for everyone who has been waiting for a while, but I'm here. Please ask your validator, your PulseChain validator questions. And Mr. Chuck, what's up? Stream was delayed so long it almost hard forked. Yeah, that's the validators were fighting. The network was fighting to see what the real stream was and what time the valid one's going to be. I like it. What's up, UFO? No rug. Did not get rug today. Just getting a magic carpet ride. I've already said it. Getting a magic carpet ride. It's happening right now. Oi, vets. What's happening? Red Squirrel. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I got a few things I want to cover, so I'll just put them on the screen. Again, if you have questions, validator stuff, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to riff on a few different things. And I got some cool stuff to talk about, I think. I think it's pretty cool. So let's go to the poll. Let's go straight into the the title of the stream. One of the main topics I want to talk about here too is it's interesting to think about, and quite a good problem to have, if validators cost a lot more one day, right? So I've tweeted about it, talked about before, especially when we had that, when PulseChain first launched, 2 or 3 weeks after that, PLS did a 2.5x or something like that. And I remember doing a validator AMA, I believe, and a tweet talking about it was about $7K or so to become a validator. That assumes, if you were buying it off the market, if you already had a bunch of PLS, you sacked and stuff, that's different too. But in the future, if PulseChain price goes up, that means if you don't already have it and you need to buy it off the market, the price you're going to pay to become a validator goes from, it's around 3,200 today, or maybe around 3,000 since that PLS dipped a little bit today. Let's see, on GoPulse, saying around 0.98. And but if in the future, if everything works out well and it goes way up, then we're looking at, even 100x from around today's prices, somewhere through there around the 3,200 mark, would be 320K to become a validator, which is just unattainable for a lot of people. I think even 3,200 for a lot of people who even sacked, especially in a bear market, is hard to come by to even get one validator, let alone the more validators you do, the more you can make. A lot of people want to do more than one. One is kind of, there's a whole conversation before about what the ROI would be, the minimum number of validators to have. What was it? I think I remember talking about K for K tweet around, based on his data a while back too. It was like, I extrapolated maybe 7 validators, 5 to 7 at kind of the lower range of prices to even break even. There's a lot of different costs, if you're doing it in cloud versus at home versus utilities costs and, all the devices, the battery backups, the extra router you may want to run at home for security, all that stuff. But essentially the conclusion was, don't go with like 7 or 5 or whatever the number is, or 10. But the idea was being, the point of it was running more than one, at least near current prices, is not quite the ROI, and you wouldn't be much harder to break even than if you run, 3, 5, 7, 10. So imagine if PLS price goes way up, I guess the ROI would kind of even itself out too. But if you want to run more than one validator in the future and the PLS price is way above what it is now, say it's a 10x, say it's a 50x, 100x, whatever it is, that's a lot of capital to have to deploy just to run one single validator. You can run multiple validators on a server, let's say 100 or so on your average kind of commodity hardware. That seems to make the most sense, or be some kind of consensus. I haven't heard a lot of people say you couldn't do that. Some people say more, some people say less. But I think that this is an interesting point of, if you're in the ecosystem and you believe the PLS price will go up over time, and you are interested in becoming a validator, getting the PLS earlier or saving it, or thinking about the people in the future who are going to have to pay a lot more for it if they don't already have it, if the price goes up, is an interesting question. And, Gamma weighed in on this a little bit as well. If you read between the lines, I guess someone's doing well. It is a good problem to have, but it's also one of those things that I think we need to think about too, of what is going to happen. We talked about Alex from Hedron Synergy, talked about Rocketpool fork for PLS as well. I certainly hope that happens. Will it be necessary in the future? Will Rocketpool, will most people even be able to go, okay, let me explain Rocketpool a little bit too. Essentially, let me hit it over Rocketpool. So it's one way to kind of pull in resources to still become part of the validator system, join the network, but more of a pull type stuff. So this came out on Ethereum because having 32 ETH, that could be 10K, 50K, 100K, depending on the Ethereum price. And once the Ethereum price went up so much, just like PulseChain could do, just like any coin could do, at a certain point, it requires a lot more capital to become a validator. So Rocketpool's like, okay, let's, instead of you needing to have 32 ETH, be it validator, set up the network and stuff on your own, there's more ways to do that. Some more centralized, some less centralized than others. So that's kind of like how Rocketpool came about, became super popular. Just trying to scroll through here for a minute. I'll drop this in the chat too, so you guys can read through it. So how Rocketpool works, yeah. Unlike solo stakers who are required to put up 32 ETH for deposit and create a new validator, Rocketpool nodes only need to deposit 16 ETH per validator. So this will be coupled with 16 ETH from the staking pool, which stakers deposit in exchange for RETH, create a new Ethereum validator. It's called a mini pool. So they have all this different ways to basically pool stuff to put up validators and to make it easier and cheaper and stuff to become a validator. Again, this is sort of analogous to what could happen in the future with PulseChain, or what may need to happen unless we do a hard fork or something like that. So I'm not pretending to be a Rocketpool expert or anything. I'm just trying to relate this type of solution, this type of product to on the Ethereum side to what could eventually happen or be necessary or just very valuable product to PulseChain. So I ran the poll. What happens if one day it costs, a ton of money to run a single validator? And again, it's kind of like, well, good problem to have, but also when that day comes, yeah, everyone who got in early, hooray, yeah, we don't have to worry about it. We got plenty of PLS, we've already got our validators. They've been burring forever. But what everyone else? What about all the other validators who may want to come from ETH now, or come from Solana, or come from other networks, other L1s, who are like, hey, I can make either more APY, or I believe in this project more, I believe the price will go up more, whatever their belief is or reason to participate in the network. What if they come over to PulseChain and they're like, oh, I want to become a validator, but it's just crazy expensive to do so. So when Richard, when the dev team and all the PulseChain devs and stuff, when they changed the different parameters to make it, there's side effects to that, right? Short-term and long-term consequences for doing like the 1 million X and like all the different parameter changes and the dilution and the stuff for the network. So some parameters, I suspect the thinking was some parameters work better in the beginning, just like maybe Uniswap v2 fork for PulseX could be better on the start of a new network, start of new coins and stuff, the first year or two, versus the long term, maybe V3 or V4 is better for pump metals and stuff like that goes. So that's why, I've had conversations too about, will we see a upgrade to PulseX to V3, V4 in the future after we've, maximized the ROI that the way V2 works in order to give us on PulseX and the different coins and different liquidity situations and ups and downs and stuff. So right now it costs this much. However, we could hard fork, do a parameter change, change the cost of the stuff in the future in order to make it cheaper, to make it, okay, now if PLS does a 100X or something, maybe at that point, and maybe, well, I guess you'd have to see, does it stabilize there? Is it just a run up? All that stuff. But as the network matures, and if it consistently is very, very expensive to become a validator, maybe there is a hard fork, parameter change in the network, and instead of it goes back down to being 3,200 or some other more reasonable number to keep onboarding people while not keeping them away from being a validator. Because unless PulseChain price goes way down, that would be funny too if there was a hard fork in the future, and then we said, okay, it's much cheaper to become a validator, and then if we did a hex in the future down 99% or whatever, and then now it's like I could just imagine like this newsflash. Oh my gosh, it's crazy cheap to be a validator. We have all of these new validators spin up, or the other way, we have people not validating as much anymore because they're not making as much money. Interesting scenario as well. It certainly seems like a lot of people are interested in being validators because, wow, we're working on doubling the number of validators in just a few weeks. It's pretty amazing. Like I remember at 20K, we're like, whoa, 20K. The Genesis ones just exited. We're on our own, for the most part, on the network side on PulseChain. Nothing really, it's kind of like, oh, okay, 20K. Then it seemed like just out of nowhere, we hit 30K. And now we're, headed towards hopefully up and to the right, hopefully to the moon validators. 34K, amazing. I really hope we hit 50K by the end of the year. And with this trajectory, I don't know. I know we got a big pump on validators recently, but that's the cool thing. Once you become a validator, you are usually, you already made the investment, you've already had the cost, and you've already made the decision, you've already got all these things set up. You're much less likely, it's almost like staking. I kind of equate to staking sometimes. You're much less likely to exit unless you really have a good reason, unless it just makes sense. You don't want to do this anymore. You've already been doing it for a long time. You haven't been doing it. Nobody's been doing it for a long time here as far as on mainnet, because mainnet's only been up for about 10 or 11 weeks. So I think being early on validating is just super cool. Seeing these numbers go up, and I like it. I kind of equate it as kind of like almost like staking your PLS, but it's actually doing something. Instead of just being locked in a smart contract, you're actually helping secure the network. You're actually helping it run faster and better, and all that stuff. A lot of great benefits for it. So there's a couple options. I mean, there's probably more than this. This is just the two that came to mind when I was doing the poll. Hard fork, again, change it, make it cheaper. Maybe that's the decision coming up. But a lot of people, like the majority of people, had almost 300 votes. Most of the votes went towards Rocketpool. So, and that's kind of what Ethereum did, right? I don't, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember them changing any of the dynamics or the parameters of the network to make it cheaper to become an Ethereum validator. I don't think that happened. What happened was there were other people building products like Rocketpool and otherwise to make it, to further democratize the validation in a way and make it accessible for people to participate in the network, still be able to onboard people without them having to have this huge amount of capital to get the ETH, buy the ETH, and then stake it. And of course, all the nerd stuff and all the infrastructure that goes along with it to actually get a validator set up, run it for a long time. Maintenance, there's not a lot, I've talked about this before. There's not a lot of maintenance, at least on the PulseChain validator side. And a lot of it can be automated too. But yeah, it's a decision, and the May came up, and let's see if Alex builds the Rocketpool fork and solves a solution or solves a problem in the future for this, or if we end up hard forking. Richard, it's like, hey, we're going to hard fork. We want to change up some other parameter. We might as well change this parameter because we feel like it's best for the network. That may work too. And I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of validators. We can maybe it'll be a hard fork. The parameter change. A lot of people will keep it. The other side too. I talked about this before. I think, who knows, future of PulseChain. Who knows, if it truly becomes decentralized, then the network, the voting power on the network becomes in the interest of the people. So even if Richard or otherwise, or a lot of people said, hey, we want to make it cheaper, maybe people do start signaling for other parameters, and a hard fork occurs where we still have people on PulseChain cheap validator side or expensive validator side. And then we have people on cheap validator side, and Rocketpool is super popular in one and not so much on the other. And there's multiple PulseChain now. You never know. It's a blockchain. It can be forked. There can be contentious forks. There can be I guess soft forks. There can be different things, but that's gonna be interesting to see how much influence and stuff is in the future after Richard lays the groundwork. There's the OA, there's other entities, there are a lot of benevolent whales that have a lot of control and should have, supposed to have the best interest of hexagons, pulsecons stuff in their heart. However, an L1 is a little different beast. So I'm interested to see how much of that stays and how much of it really becomes, for better or for worse, what the network becomes in the future. Should be fun to see. All right, all 16 of you listen to the live stream. Hopefully you're getting something out of stuff I'm saying. I want to riff on that for a minute. I'm going to look at the chat, but I'll be back in 1 sec. I think I need some more coffee too. It's been a long day and not getting any shorter too, but I'm excited. I got some cool stuff. That's not the only thing I want to talk about. Let's see. Mr. Chuck, one validator is now being called a V-share. Interesting. I still haven't seen all that stream. I bet it was a good one. The DCC and Feder stream. A V-share. I like that. That's the first I've heard of that. Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Chuck. What's up, Chad, of the Donners, of the party that has entered the chat? What's happening with the TEH, not the THE? We'll need it. We need the modern Chad version of the. Such an important word. What's the most common word? It's like the or a. I feel like I've heard this before somewhere. Anyways, it's like emojis where it's a sound. Yeah, I think it seems like sounds good. Yeah. Weird found stream. Yeah. Sometimes, your browser goes nuts or my browser acts up too. I got to kill it and restart it sometimes. I wonder what it would look like to eat with a rubber fork. Loose and wobbly. Soft fork. Made me think about it. Almighty Hexagon, that is a profound thought. Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't know. Rubber fork. That sounds hard to do. I'd probably start using it more as a spoon, honestly. Probe time. UFO. You're hilarious, man. Hilarious. So what else I want to talk about? I'm going to go for another probably 10, 15 minutes. Again, get your questions in if you have any. Everybody doing good? Everyone got their validator up, running? Like, if you have any questions or otherwise, the repo's in pretty good shape. I'm going to drop it in here. As far as I know, let's see what issues we have. Oh, do snapshot. Yeah, that was just more of a suggestion. So I haven't heard anyone, knock on wood, reporting any issues or otherwise. Things seem to be working good. We just had the update on the client updates the other day, which again, if you use the script before July, basically, there's a couple options. I'll throw this in the chat. So we talked about it. Actually, I have it on the README. Let's see. Goes through this. So if you want to update, it doesn't affect your validator burning right now, but if you want to update later on, let's see, client update script. So there's a workaround for a couple issues that were on client updates when you installed it. Talked about this and spoke about it on Validator AMA ad nauseum. Not ad nauseum, but I feel like I covered it pretty well. So anyways, before July, make sure to check this out if you want to update your clients, just to set them up better in the future. And if you thought about doing a validator and haven't did it yet, then the updates have been made to the repo. So if you use the current version setup script after this time period, updates should work fine after that. Fingers crossed, everything's good. It's really hard to test these things a lot because every time I need to test something thoroughly, I need to spin up more infrastructure, which usually costs me hundreds of dollars, and I prefer not to be costed hundreds of dollars very often. And so I've been trying to crowdsourcing some of the help. It's very good people in the community who've been helping me test some of the different scripts and different scenarios and suggestions for different stuff too. So I've updated a lot of documentation to look at this stuff too, such as changing your IP address and all that stuff too. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. If you haven't set one up or before July, then shouldn't be affected by any of this stuff. What else do we got? I was going to go through just the links and see what people are talking about on validators too. Look at the latest. Yay, we're live. Let's see. Yeah, I do love this meme. Somebody said it was based on a cartoon. My meme guy, he pulled it from something, but I forgot what this was. Somebody tell me if you know in the chat. I don't immediately recognize what cartoon it was from, but I think I would had someone mentioned it. I feel like definitely looks a little bit nostalgic in the 90s cartoons or early 2000s. 30,000 validators. Oh, did Kyle Chessie? That's actually a good interview with Richard a while back. Oh, so he's talking about, is he NFT guy now? Looks like, but BTC since 2012. Yeah, that was really good with Kyle. If you search for Richard Hart, Kyle Chessie, pretty good one. Man, Crypto Mando says PLS. Yeah, man, come on. You interviewed Richard, Kyle. You interviewed Richard on, he talked about PulseChain and stuff there. Apparently he's not super interested, but yeah, good. I'll just like that one. There you go. Good interview though. I clipped a few things out of it and for the channel. How to figure out the future earning? Yeah, so if you didn't catch my Corey Costa stream yesterday on his channel, it's pretty good. We talked about a little bit about that. Hopefully, I talked about, basically we went over Richard's tweet about nice to haves. He was kind of looking for feedback from the community on different stuff. And I talked about what I would like to see and what I think would be useful for both people in the community already and new onboards. And one is eventually, I don't think it should be at the top of the list either, but eventually it'd be nice to have more accurate APR numbers for validators and for everything else, for PulseX and all the polishing and all the stuff like that. But again, does that make price go up? I think I prefer Richard and dev team work on things that make price go up rather than the stuff that doesn't and can wait. And yeah, there's trade-offs. Oh, it doesn't look as nice and people get confused over the stuff. I get it. But at the end of the day, I think most people care more about price go up. So yes, I would love a polished, shiny network that never had any bugs. We never had to make a burn and earn decision or any of that stuff too. But at the end of the day, like if I'm prioritizing, I think I definitely want everything to look super nice and work super well and functional and never break and all that stuff. But I mean, again, to me, I'm not a new on board, so I have this other perspective too. I'm just like, yeah, I would prefer you work on the stuff where price goes up. So Richard talked about single size staking yesterday. He talked about the wallet. He mentioned the wallet again as well. Very interesting. So maybe that's coming back into play and how it would automate a lot of stuff in the ecosystem. That's what he mentioned. So that's exciting. But anyways, it's just this future earnings. A lot of the calculators could be a lot more accurate. I know half the time you see like 0% here and you see the withdrawals because it's automatically doing withdrawals. And then that's the thing too, like a lot of the calculator stuff there, it depends if you set a withdrawal address. If you didn't, it works differently. It's going to come up with different numbers. If you did, it works differently. It's just not a really good source of information. And if the launchpad isn't a place where you can go for 100% accurate or 90% accurate information, it's hard to build a lot of tools based on that too that pull data from that. Even GoPulse, they're pulling, let's see, did they start showing it APR? Yeah. So they're showing this. It's coming from, again, the higher the number, looks good marketing wise. So maybe that's good for onboards. But for current people, we're just like, hey, I can't measure anything on it. I can't calculate my future ROI based on the official number because we know that there's the calculations aren't as accurate as it could be because different parameters have changed and stuff hasn't been updated. So I'm kind of okay with it. I would rather it be this than like inaccurate in the other way, where it's only showing like 4 or 5% APR. So I guess this is better for marketing, and it's not like malintented or anything. It's just like, yeah, the calculator just not very accurate. So, but it's inaccurate in our favor for onboarding. I guess you could say it like that. One day I hope it changes, but it's not at the top of my list if I was a PulseChain dev. Let's see. Some of these people, yeah, I got to start going through the list and then start following some of these people, because there's a lot of people who tweet about validators that I'm not following yet. So I'm going to go through this on my official account as well. See, General Shield has some stuff. How to become a validator. I wonder which one he posted. Was it mine or somebody else's? Probably Feeder's. No, it is mine. Yeah, that's cool. I'm definitely going to retweet you, man. Appreciate that, General Shield. Shout out to you. Pretty cool. He called the Solana and Hex bottom on the day. Nice. Appreciate that. Let's see what else we got going on. I know we gotta get the hashtag PulseChain and validator thing twinning. Is this a real thing? I'm not sure about this Pulse Validator. Providing validators for PulseChain. See, a lot of these, I've never heard of. I have another product. I can't tell you one way or another, but it's interesting. Interesting to see. And then, of course, when I search PulseChain Validator, literally the PulseChain Validator account, PLS Validator account comes up. Which, what do you guys think? Richard's not streaming anymore. I think waiting for green candles. And a lot of people agree, apparently. It's a pretty good poll, actually. Pretty good poll. I might retweet that as well later. All right, just wanted to scroll through. Shout out to Hexblade. He's pretty awesome too. Pretty awesome. Like to have him back on the show again. Like to have Gamma back on the show. Like to have Feeder back on the show. Yeah, if you guys want them to be on the show, feel free to message them or publicly tweet at them and tag me. I know if they're busy, some of them are busy, some are on vacation and stuff, but it helps. It helps data wise. And at least I can go to them and be like, hey, looks like people want you back on the show. So if you want to come on, good stuff. I know Gamma looks like he's on vacation or something right now. I was going to invite him later on, maybe when he's back, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to leave it on this beautiful, beautiful map here. Pretty cool. And go to the chat, and we will wrap up. Mr. Chuck, if there was a PLS Rocketpool, would all tokens be created a set number of validators? Would one token be created each time a validator is added? There would need to be a sacrifice phase. Would there? I don't know. I'm really waiting on. I'd love to have Alex back on the show. Really waiting on somebody or Alex to kind of explain the tokenomics and explain how this would work with PulseChain. And I've never used it on Ethereum either, so I just don't have a lot of. I don't have a lot to go off of as far as even thinking about it. And I don't even have a lot of motivation to think about it because I wouldn't be using it, right? Like I probably wouldn't be using Rocketpool. I know a lot of people would, but I don't think I would use it just because I think I have plenty of PLS to spin up as many validators as I'm interested in doing. But I would definitely want it to be around because I know other people would want to do it who are not technically inclined or don't have a lot of PLS to dedicate to it otherwise. It's just one of those things. Like I probably wouldn't use the product, but I want it to exist and I want it to be available because I know a lot of other people would use it. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of commentary on the tokenomics or how it would be set up or that, Mr. Chuck, unfortunately. I do not. If you do, tweet at me. Please tweet at me your references. Again, I just don't have a lot of maybe I'll look it up. I don't know. Sometimes I just look up stuff just because I'm curious, but I don't want to have a lot of motivation to look it up and like really deep dive into it because I don't know. I say that now. As I say that, I'm getting more interested. Maybe I should know more about this. Maybe I would enjoy learning more about it. So yeah, maybe I'll look it up too. Anyways, if you have more references of interesting tokenomics or facts and stuff about Rocketpool, feel free to share. Logie323, what's up, man? How do you maintain a validator if you're on vacation? Any tips? Sir, I have a resource for you, which should explain most of it. Great question. Let's see. We'll go down to the maintenance section. Boom. I'll put this in the chat as well. Very straightforward. Fast Abdul. First monkey pictures. Yes, I would like my WhatsApp monkey pictures, please. I think I tweeted about that the other day. It's like when monkey pictures dev, I would like to see them. What's up, Fast Abdul? Please enough sacks. I hear there's people who don't like sack phases anymore, which, I don't know. I try not to get involved in too much of it. It's like, I don't care that people do it or not, because I can control whether I participate. So there's even products that I really like that I'm like, I won't even participate in the sack phase, but I'll probably use it later on. I think, funny enough, I wonder where that comes from. I wonder if that comes from the PulseChain price not doing like, a lot of people expect to do a 10x or 250x, all this stuff. I wonder if that's kind of like damper down the expectations of sack phases, where it's like, is it even worth, when you don't know how long it's going to take, is it even worth sacking for beforehand? Like, have we got that new perspective inserted into our minds because of PulseChain and it not going to the moon immediately, but all that, a lot of shouldn't have been expectations, but a lot of expectations around, or just guesses around it doing that, have kind of made people be more wary of sack phases. I'm definitely not hating on anyone to sack phases. I think it's totally fine. Like, I just choose to participate or I don't. And there's some products that I see a sack phase for, and I think I'm not going to sack for it, but I'm excited for it to exist, and I may invest later on. So yeah, and there's so many. Excuse me. Excuse me. There's so many, and there's so many projects who haven't launched yet. So again, that's one more thread in this conversation. If all the products in PulseChain have launched, let's say later this year, let's say 2, 3, 4 months from now, let's say end of year. I know probably Power City and Liquid Loan stuff will launch before that. It sounds like, but let's just say later this year, and most of the projects in PulseChain have launched. Are people more up for sack phases in? There's a lot of capital locked up too. I mean, maybe not just the bear market and not just, I don't know what to call it. Is it a bear market? Is it sideways? Is it just not? I'm just start calling it not a bull market. It's just not a bull market. I'm not sure it's a bear market. I'm not sure it's a sideways market. It's just not a bull market. I'll say it like that. When a lot of that capital becomes unlocked, because there's tons, millions and millions of dollars people sacked for other projects other than PulseChain and PulseX. When that capital becomes free, then will people be more open to other sack phases because they actually feel like they got some of that money back from the other projects that hadn't launched yet. So that'd be something to watch too. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, back to the maintenance. RHMax wants people more hate sack the same way they do. Yeah, there's some. I try to stay away from the emotional side and the drama side of it too. But yeah, there's definitely some just some feelings involved. People have opinions one way or another about it. So yes, if you go here, as far as the maintenance goes, because I got to wrap up here, there's only a couple maintenance items that can be completed manually or by running some scripts in the repo. So pruning geth is something that I haven't even did yet because it hasn't even been 3 months or so. So I'm going to wait on the quarterly and then actually run the script and watch it work. Hopefully it works fine. I ran the script before, but then geth was like, I don't need to be pruned. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm pretty sure this works. I'll fully test it once I actually need to be pruned. So, and that's just so you don't fill up the disk space on your hard drive, on your validator. Assuming you have like a 1 or 2 terabyte drive, 2 terabyte, I think is a general recommendation. If you have a 10 terabyte drive or whatever, maybe you don't need to prune, but yearly, I don't know. And then keeping the clients up to date. So this is the last update. It was not a critical update, as far as I remember. It was just, hey, here's some new features, kind of just the normal dev process. Here's some stuff we fixed that may or may not affect you. And then you can choose to update your clients or not. But if there is some new parameters on the network or some critical security issue or critical crashing issue or whatever that people are running into, that's when I would take it more seriously. I would update clients sooner rather than later. But those are the only two maintenance. If you're on vacation, so one other nuance of this, and I'll wrap it up. If you're running a validator at home, battery backup to make sure that it stays online. If there's any like quick blackouts, brownouts, anything that keeps it offline for over a day or two, you're going to start costing you more and more PLS. Could get penalized and stuff like that. So if you're running at home, making sure the power is working, internet's working, not just a battery backup on your validator, but a battery backup on your internet connection, if that's a router or modem or whatever too. Because even if your router stays online, or even if your validator stays online, but your internet's off, then your validator might as well be off too. And this is especially good that you don't want your validator to turn off, because it could, if it turns off when it doesn't shut down, if it just goes off without shutting down properly, without you going down and shutting it down, it could cause some database corruption, which I think, I'm not sure because I haven't had this happen to me yet, but I think the worst case is you need to resync, which could take a day or two. So it's kind of just a delay. It's not like it's going to kill your validator. From what I understand, it's just that it could take longer for it to resync and come back online. And that could, you'd be losing some PLS. Although, my validator is offline for a day or so when I was doing like the quick resetting it back up after the update script issues and stuff worked through. I just reset the validator. It was off for, I don't know, maybe a day. And yeah, I lost some PLS, but it's like 10K PLS, which at today's prices, not so much. And then I made it back afterwards. It took it from the balance of the 32 mil, but then it built it back up. And then once it gets to excess, it starts doing automatic withdrawals again. So as far as maintenance goes, these are only two things in general. At home, battery backups, if you're going on vacation or whatever, just hopefully have a very good battery backup, or hopefully nothing happens. That's what I like about running in the cloud. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, you pay monthly, all that stuff. But I can, have more peace of mind and stuff, knowing that usually most cloud providers at least have a 99% uptime, 100% uptime, whatever. And they take care of utilities, they take care of internet. So I don't have to have a battery backup or anything like that, because, they're going to keep the lights on unless something crazy, happens. So that's just one benefit of doing the cloud. Again, it costs more. You don't have to do it. That's just one benefit I can think of. All right, looks like one more question. Appreciate that, Leggy. One more question before I call it from Harmatic Hexagon. What's happening? If whales exit validators in the bull, will the APY go up for anyone keeping their validators? Well, technically speaking, if there are less validators, there's less. You have a larger. The people who are still there have a larger portion of the pool. So yes, APY should go up if a lot of whales. When you say well validators, I'm assuming you mean like people who run a ton of validators. Like, I think some people came online with hundreds of validators recently too. Really amp the numbers up on the 30 and 35K that we currently have. So yeah, if they exit, if bull run comes and a bunch exit, APY could go up. Yeah, I could see that happening as well. I mean, validators are one of those things where, because you're getting automatic withdrawals, you're getting paid too. So it's actually less incentive to exit, because you already are getting paid some over time. You're just not getting your original principal back until you fully exit. So that's actually, I guess, yeah, there's an interesting question. There's two different things going on. One, if whales exit to sell their PLS, that wouldn't necessarily be good for price, right? But if whales don't need to exit because they're getting the automatic withdrawals because it's set a withdrawal address and they're getting paid, every day or every so often, however it is with the epochs and stuff, then the APY doesn't go down, but the PLS is like, that PLS is not at least the principal is not going to get sold because it's still locked up in the validators. So I guess it's kind of a trade-off there. I mean, it's kind of I guess it's kind of good. You can see good and bad for both, because the more PLS is locked up, less sell pressure. But also, you know, you're getting a withdrawal too. I guess you could sell that. But also the APY could go up if a lot of wealth exit. So you could be earning more each day. So yeah, there's a couple different pieces of that. So very good. Yeah, great question, Armand Hexon. Very good one. Want the facts? Watch RHMax. Appreciate that, UFO. Appreciate you. What's up, Francis? Just in time to hit the replay gang. Like your avatar though. It's nice hex sign in the background as well. Good to see you all. Tap the like if you want. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. I feel like I went through the gambit, and good questions, everyone. Let's see. I'll be on tomorrow. If you want to watch high stakes directors, I don't know which ones I'm getting yet, either Patrick or Grant, or maybe both. I'm scheduled 11 o'clock Pacific. I'll be there. It's not a solo stream. Solo streams, you never know what time. It could be plus or minus 15 minutes or hours, depending on if my day goes differently. But scheduled tomorrow, 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. High stakes interview. Yes. Appreciate that, Kinetics, for hooking me up with that. And yeah, that should be fun. Should be a good interview. Excited. Finally talked to these guys, and sad that I'll be missing the premiere, but yeah, I'm sure I'll get to see it, and it'll be a lot of fun, fanfare, and everything else. So it should be a good time. So thank you, everyone. That's all I got for you today. Watch the replay, gang, if you just got here. Appreciate all your support. Scivive and 5555. We are out.